first of all, I was looking out amongst you and realized how many of you I know and how many of you I love. And I thought, that's awesome, because I've kind of been a little freaked out this week about how many of you were going to be here. Hello, George. He's waving. She knows me in the back. I'm a little freaked out about how many of you were going to be here, and then as I looked at it, I thought, oh, these are all the people I love anyway, so never mind. We're good, right? We're good. I appreciate the opportunity to work on the fireside. It is a growing experience. I know many of you have taught lessons, and when you do, it's always the person who does the work to do the presentation that probably gains the most. And so I appreciate the opportunity to be asked and to be here, because it's been a really quite an interesting journey. I'm thinking, just as you talked about your gentleman friend who feels connected, doesn't feel connected and feels lonely, my first response to that is the idea that Satan wants us to feel that way. He wants us to feel disconnected. He wants us to feel like no one cares about us. He wants us to feel like we are unlovable. He wants us to feel like no one's ever going to love us, or we're never going to find our significant other, or help. He wants us to feel hopeless and helpless in that situation. And if Heavenly Father were to sit with you right now, I know that would not be his message. His message would be that you are wonderful and lovable just the way you are. You know, Elder Ugendorf in the last conference, I think it was it to the women, ladies, help me? He said, Heavenly Father loves you the way you are right now, without any changes, without anything else, just exactly how you are right now. And so I want to start this fireside that way, is to say to you that you are wonderful the way you are right now. You don't have to do anything else to have God love you, because he loves you just the way you are right now. Yes, with your warts, and yes, with your failings, and yes, with the things that you should do better, but it doesn't matter to him. He loves you anyway. And that kind of transfers, I think, a little bit in our mind when you think about the idea that how much you love your children who just maybe threw up on you, or your child who just painted, all of your walls with a magic marker. You didn't cease to love them, you just wanted to strangle them for a minute, but you didn't cease to love them. And so I want to say to you that Heavenly Father loves you the way you are right now. Now, does he hope for some of us to change and get better? Of course, that's the progress of life. But it doesn't matter where we are right now, you are loved by Heavenly Father. As we talk about relationships, it's always a little tricky, because many in this room have had very negative experiences with relationships. And I want to just point out to you that it takes two to tango in any relationship, and that I'm certain that if you think about it long enough, you can come up with something that you didn't do right, but I can bet you could also come up with many things that you did. You come up with many things you did wrong, but you can also come up with a few things that you might have done right. And I want you for just a moment to realize that you are in the process of learning. And especially in relationships. Did anybody get a relationship course in young men or young women? Or do they ever say, you're getting ready to get married and these are the things you ought to know? And no, nobody did that for you. I had one man in my office about a month ago. I was talking to him about how women think and and he said to me after about 10 minutes, why has no one ever told me this? And I said, I know. It's like a big secret. I'm going to just tell you all the secrets. And he said, I wish I had known 20 years ago before I made such a mess of my marriage. My hope is that tonight, everybody in this room is single, right? Anybody not single? If you're not single, you have to leave, or I guess you apply it to your regular whatever. There's a spine back. But what I'm hoping is that you can understand when we're through tonight some of the things that you should be working on for you, and also looking for in a spouse, in a future spouse or a future relationship that will help you to know what it is you're looking for. Because sometimes we don't know. We're a little bit like Alice in Wonderland. Remember, as she went down the path, she comes to a place where it diverges in the forest, and she looks at the Cheshire Cat and she says, which road do I take? And he said, well, where do you want to go? And she said, well, I don't really know. And he goes, well, then it doesn't matter which path to take, right? So I'm hoping to demystify for you tonight some of the things that would be helpful, okay? So, with that said, I want you to think back to the very first time that you held somebody's hand, or they held yours. Anybody want to share? How old were you? Hold up your fingers. Take off your socks now. You remember? Who remembers? Tell me who it was. Tell me their name. Do you remember their name?
Anthony.
Anthony was her. Mine was Melvin. Yes, Melvin was the first boy that held my hand.
My first boyfriend, I was 15.
Oh, see, Anthony was her first. What do you remember about that magical moment?
Wait. My first boyfriend.
Okay. Okay, what do you remember about that magical moment?
Butterfly.
Do you remember thinking, is he gonna hold my hand? Is he gonna hold my hand? Is he gonna hold my hand? Or did it just happen like, how did it happen?
Honestly, I don't even remember.
She doesn't remember?
The first time, but I do remember, like, I remember, like, how excited I was that he was even interested in me.
Oh, yeah.
Because I didn't think that was anything special.
Well, there you go.
He was the guy that all the girls wanted.
Ah, and he was holding, and here he was holding your hand. Just for a moment. Okay, anybody else? I've already taken you back there, Joel. What do you remember?
Sandy Allen.
He remembers the name. Isn't it amazing how we remember their names? Yes. I couldn't tell you half the people I went to high school with, but I remember Melvin Taylor. Remember his last name too. Yes. Okay. What do you remember?
I remember
Oh.
my first kiss. Hey, I'm still friends 60 years later.
Well, that's nice. That's great. Okay, Joel, what do you remember about your first handhold?
It was so, her hand was so soft.
Oh, right. It was so soft. You remember that? Were you scared that she would like somehow her hand would evaporate in yours? That it's like,
I pulled away.
did you have? Yeah, they'd go, ew, you've got cooties. Don't touch me. Yeah, no. Isn't it amazing how we remember that moment with such clarity? You know why you remember it?
Because it made an emotional impact.
It made an emotional impact, that's right. Anything that's tied to an emotion, we remember with absolute clarity years later. I still remember the feel of Melvin's hand in mine too, by the way. His was not soft. Okay, so here we go. So you think of that very first moment, and that in that very first moment was the moment of an intimacy between you and that person on a different level. I remember there were times that I was sitting with a boy out on a date, and I would make my hand convenient. So he would hold my hand. Some guys didn't get that, by the way, guys. That's, you know, if your hand's convenient, she might be okay. I'm just saying. So you're saying, extra girl, my hand's convenient right now. Feel free to reach out and grab it. Okay. So, but what we hope is that in that moment of intimacy, the longer that we go through that process, we begin that process of becoming attached to someone on an emotional level. The first experience is an emotional one, and we kind of go and travel until hopefully we find somebody that we feel like this, that I want to be the only hand that you ever want to hold or ever need to hold in your life. It's a progression of intimacy as we kind of begin this relationship idea. So I want you to think about that for just a minute, that there was a beginning point and there was a progression until you got to the point of this is the only person's hand I ever want to hold ever again in my life, okay? So just kind of get that idea of progression in your idea. Now, the problem is that there's this progression thing is called dating, okay? So if I say the word dating, anybody just, this is like a Rorschach test. If I say dating, you say?
Marriage.
This is marriage. What else? What else are here? Dating? Huh? Fun. Good. Anybody else? Huh? When? When? Drama. Okay, anybody else? Huh? Ugh? Okay, it's very interesting. Tense, yes. Nerve-wracking, yes. You know, you guys have that drive to our house, but we have the sitting there waiting for you moments. You know, we have that, you know, kind of deal. You're still getting ready? You're still okay, whatever. So that dating thing has a tendency to conjure up some negative things sometimes or some positive. I was reading an article and it said this, that what was once an enjoyable experience for getting to know a potential life partner has become something to be feared. Anybody feel like that a little bit? Relationships are a little scary sometimes, and you worry and you fret and you kind of get into this place where you almost become paralyzed with fear because you are so afraid of what?
Rejection.
Say again? Rejection, improper relationships. Getting hurt. Yeah, we're almost paralyzed by fear because of the unknown. Now, that's a valid feeling. There have been people that have rejected us. There have been people who haven't loved us when we've loved them. They haven't loved us back. There have been times when things have happened in relationships that aren't okay, and they have hurt us. And so that fear is a natural feeling, but it's also, I want you to say that, where does Heavenly Father exist, in fear or in faith? In faith, right. So when you feel that fear of dating, I'm going to just slap you a tiny bit right now and tell you that what you're letting is Satan have hold and have a place. Because Heavenly Father wants us to walk out in faith, not in fear. And if you let Satan stop you, then you yourself are letting him have place in this relationship to start with. So walk out in faith. What is the worst thing that could happen? They don't like you. Well, that's happened before, right? Anybody not have that happen? Okay, just checking. Okay. So really, that's happened. By the way, Melvin didn't stay in love with me for very long. He just held my hand for just like, 3 weeks, and then he moved on to Amy. I remember her name too. So in my young life, I started out with this, and I think you guys can all remember that. I still remember the name of the girl who stole my boyfriend in junior high, Bronwyn Lawson. I don't have any girls named Bronwyn in my family. Okay? No, I did not take it out. Now, President Kimball said this. He said that clearly right marriage begins with right dating. Okay? Now, that's implying that you are dating. If you are not dating, I suggest that you start, because if you are fearful of dating, then you are in a place where Satan is controlling you. Have we already established that? Strike out in faith, not in fear. Okay? Now I want you to, for just a moment, think of that one couple that you know. That one that seems to have a fabulous marriage. You know, that person in your ward, your state president, your old seminary teacher, somebody. Can you all think of somebody that you know? I don't need names. I just want you to, did you get a piece of paper and a pen? Write their name on the top of your paper somewhere so you remember. I want you to identify who that person, that family is, that couple. That one person who has what you think is a really great marriage that you think, ooh, if I could have that, that's what I want. Everybody have somebody? Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start to tell you what probably is right with that relationship. I want you to kind of, as we talk about the next, I'm going to share with you 5 principles that are keys to healthy relationships. And as we talk about these, I want you to kind of, for just a moment, consider the couple's name that you've written at the top, and if you have seen this in their own marriage. We're going to be discussing today one of my favorite authors about marriage. His name is Dr. Gottman. I'm going to call him Brother Gottman. He's Jewish, though, but that's okay. Brother Gottman had, years ago, what happened to him is he was a Jewish rabbi, and he found himself divorced, which is very odd in the Jewish culture. And he kind of went, oh my land, what happened? And he started to try to figure out why couples stay together and why some don't. And he got his degree in counseling, and he began to run this thing called the Love Lab. And he would actually bring couples to an actual home setting, and he would watch them and observe them and tape them, and they'd be there for 2 or 3 days, and he just watched all of their interactions. They were kind of like, adult, real people lab rats. And he watched and watched and watched thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of couples. And they always volunteered to come, which he thought was amazing, that you let anybody look at that intimate part of your life. But he said, I'm hoping that I can help you identify what's happening so I can help you. And they said, okay, we'll do anything, we'll do this. He also happened to marry a lady by the name of Judith. She was also Jewish, and she had also gone through a divorce. And she, in her search to try to figure out what happened, got her degree in psychology. And so these two now run what's called the Gottman Institute. And what we're going to study today is a little, he has 7 principles, but I've kind of broken it down to just 5 that I think are important to us. As the first thing that he says is that what you do every day matters more than what you do every once in a while. Okay? So meaning that those things that we do in our marriages need to be consistent things in order for them to be, or in our relationships, in order for them to be effective. The other thing he says is that we need to focus on what's right in the relationship rather than what's wrong. Now, there's going to be, if I had the time and I opened up the floor to you, I am positive that you guys could tell me every war story about how your relationships have not worked in the past. Everybody can tell us, married or unmarried. We all have those things about why this wasn't working or that wasn't working time and time again. I want you to clear your mind of all of that, because we don't need to get stuck there today. I want you to get working on what it is you need to be doing, what is the positive things that you need to be doing in a relationship in order to have a good relationship with somebody, okay? So here's the first one. By the way, this is all on that. I am sorry, by the way, those are so tiny that unless you were like under 20, you can hardly read them. Get a magnifying glass is all I can say. But if you need a bigger one, I can email that. I'll probably post the larger one you can download on the website tomorrow, so on the LDS, on the Fireside one, okay? But the first one he talks about is this idea of nurturing friendships. He said that the strongest marriages that he observed they always had one thing in common, and that was they had a strong bond of friendship. And I think that's interesting because we often get married to people who make our hearts go pit-a-pat, but not people that we know very well. We often get married in that, Mormon 3 months, we've been married 3 months, we've been out on 3 dates, we should be engaged thing. I don't know why we do that, but we often do. And we don't really even know the people that we are getting married to. And so the first thing he said is that the nurturing friendship is an important thing. I love this quote. He said, emotionally intelligent couples are intimately familiar with each other's world. What does that mean to anybody? What do you think that means? Intimately knowledgeable about their world. Somebody talk about that. What do you think?
About the families and friends.
Know about families and friends. Okay. What else? Yes.
Know about workplaces, what they do for the profession, how
Okay.
they got there, their educational background.
Okay. No workplaces stuff. Good. Yes. Yes. You made it back. Did you drive 90?
Not exactly.
Oh, good. Okay. She was coming from Houston. Okay. Yes.
See people in seasons of life.
Meaning what does that mean to you? Seasons of life.
Success and disappointment
Okay.
that come with, a job, seasons that's involved in your spring.
Okay. So see them in different kinds of situations, not just in the happy dating, blissful, kissy face one. Okay. All right. Yes.
Not just
Sure.
about work and that kind of thing, but who they associate with work, who's their boss, who's this, and the personalities that they work with on a daily basis.
Okay.
When they're describing what's going on to you.
So you really are involved not just in that. I know that he's an architect, but I know what he does at work, and I know the dramatics of what works there and what he's kind of dealing with and the people and maybe the acquisitions and mergers and all that other stuff that goes on. Good. Okay. Yes.
They have commonalities,
Meaning?
meaning they go to football games together, or they
Okay.
have this other similar.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. I'm talking about the knowledge base right now, but we'll get there, I promise. Yes, and then here, yes.
How they handle the rough parts of life, not just, like you said, people in our culture tend to get together during the romantic love phase. But
Yeah.
what happens when the world falls apart?
How do they handle stresses and how do they handle disappointments and how do they ride through that, right? Yes, Jen?
I'm gonna say with the things that they do on a daily basis, what time they get up, what time they go to bed, do they have any rituals that they go through
Yeah.
throughout the day?
Yeah. It might be really important for you to know those, right?
Things like that, well, because you don't want to call somebody to tell them, hey, I hope you have a wonderful day today, and wake them up in the morning. Or at night, when you're like, okay, goodbye, I hope you sleep well, and they're like, I'm gonna sleep for an hour,
And you would just
yeah.
woke me up. Yeah, sometimes biorhythm stuff
Like,
even
like
is
if they go
important.
grocery shopping,
Good.
because, I mean, if you ever want to plan like a surprise
Do they-
visit, or just plan a date around their schedule.
You have to have
You
knowledge.
know, are they
Good.
structured, are they flexible?
Good.
That kind of thing. And
Yeah.
it's nice to know just the daily ins and outs of someone's life, because you can check up on them too. Hey, how did that go for you? Or, oh,
Okay.
I'm ready to go to this interview, or,
Okay.
it's really stressful meeting with your boss.
Good.
You know, how did stuff go?
Great. Yes. Okay.
I think it's important to know when someone argues, so that when
We're going to get there.
disagreements happen, you work through them.
Good, we're gonna get to that, about the conflict part. Okay, so we need to have enough conversation with people before we become into it, and that's part of the beginning of the intimacy of the relationship, is that sharing part. If you find yourself in a relationship where you're doing all the talking and they're doing all the listening, that's not gonna work, right? Does it work? Unless you like to talk a lot. That might be it. I don't know. We're not labeling. Okay. But that might be a problem if they're never interested in you and you're always trying to get them to talk, but they're not always getting you to talk. If they're never reaching out to know your world, that might be a problem. But vice versa, if you want to have an intimate relationship, you need to be reaching into their world to know about them. Now, this isn't designed to be like an interrogation. Okay, I have these 400, I literally had a guy, I'm not kidding you. He's very seriously dating and he downloaded 400 get to know you questions and sat. This poor woman, I said, did she hang in there? He said, I don't know, at one point I thought this was a bad idea. I said it might have been a little much, kind of a deal. So this isn't meant to be that. That should be a natural outpouring of what it is you're experiencing as a couple. That is what dating is for. That is why movies are terrible dates. Why? Because if you talk, the people behind you go, shh. Or turn around, look at you, or get up and move, whatever. I hate movies as a date because there never is any talking. I like fondue for a date because there's lots of talking. It goes on for 5 or 6 hours. I know. I took one guy out there and I think he felt trapped. So I'm not going to tell you. Okay. Now, so here's the idea. Now, did any of you guys see Leap Year? Okay. Love the movie. Okay. There's one part in there where the guy here at the bottom, let's see, I can use this if I don't blind myself. Wait, I can do this. Okay, here we go. This guy right here, he's the one who's trying to, yeah, he's nice. He helps her get to, he's helping her to get to Dublin, and they go through all this trial and stuff, and he finally asks the question, he must be really something. And she said, who? And he said, Jeremy, who's the guy that she's trying to get to Dublin to propose to him because it's leap year. And he said, he must really be something. And she says, who? And he says, Jeremy. She goes, well, he is. And then she goes, he's a cardiologist. And I'm thinking, but all she could ever, anytime anybody in the whole movie asks about Jeremy, the only thing she says is, he's a cardiologist. And I'm thinking, does she know this guy? Except for what he does. She's impressed by the fact that he's a cardiologist, but does she know anything else about him? The idea here is that we have an intimate enough relationship, knowledge about each other, and that's gathered through the dating process. Some of that will come after you're married. Of course, there are things that you will not discuss or experience, until after you're married, but a great bulk of it needs to happen in the relationship building part of it. And so may I suggest to you that we don't rush to the altar and then find out later, oh my goodness, this person is a night owl and I like to go to bed at 7. And I'm getting up before to exercise and they're irritated by that. It's not good, okay? I get that in my office. So here's some of the ways that we can nurture a friendship besides the communication. Displaying love. Anybody want to give a stab at that? What would be displaying love in your mind? How do you display love? Kissing is one, yes. We don't do that at the very beginning, but we try to move along, yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Being in touch with the love languages.
Okay, that can be
How
helpful.
that person wants to receive love. If they're an acts of service type person, go wash their car, go wash
Correct.
their dishes.
And the love language books are a great way to kind of get in touch with that. That's one way, yes, Joe?
I just think that they all play into each other, so everything that I'm going to say was kindness, respect.
Okay, go ahead.
Everything is showing a great deal of admiration for the person.
Okay.
They all those next three things.
Yeah, as you look at this list of things, is that if you find somebody that does this for you, that they're displaying love and that they have great deal of respect for you and kindness and they're considerate of what you're going through, you've got a pretty good basis for a decent relationship right there. That's a pretty good indication that there's something going on there. Now, those people may not necessarily be people that you generally are attracted to because maybe they didn't have the same package you're looking for, but I'm going to tell you as far as height and weight and teeth structure or whatever, but I'm just going to tell you that this is somebody that you might want to look at because those people may have a good relationship with them. Dr. Gottman said this, well, this is Dr. Gottman, but somebody else. Communication is the fuel that keeps the fire of your relationship burning. Without it, your relationship goes cold. True story. I was out to dinner 2 weeks ago. I happened to go by myself. I was reading a book, and I like to do that occasionally. And I was sitting in a restaurant, and there were 4 couples sitting there. And I, being a person that knew this fireside was coming, started to watch them take notes. By the way, if you ever see me in a restaurant taking notes, I'm writing about you. So, what I saw was 4 couples. 3 of them ordered and sat in complete silence. 3 of them were both all on their phones. No communication. I don't know if they were texting back and forth. It didn't look like it. Nobody was laughing or anything. They were just zoned out. No conversation. There was one couple, however, that was talking back and forth, and it was just lovely to watch. But by and large, what happens a lot of times is we talk about all the niceties and then we shut down and we don't really share our lives. There should be enough stuff every single day to share every day, at least through a dinner conversation, right? There should be enough stuff to do that. And that's, so communication keeps a relationship going. If you find someone who does not want to talk with you, that's going to be a little indication that might be harder later. If you've got someone that the conversation is flowing easily and you're getting along well and you're having that back and forth, you've got something that's part of a good, healthy relationship going on there. There becomes an emotional connection through conversation a lot of times. Dr. Gottman talks about something called the love map, and he said we need to develop a love map for the people in our relationship, and he says that we need to have an awareness of their world in order to develop that love map, meaning I know what makes them tick, I know what makes them happy, I know what makes them sad, I know what makes them frustrated, I know all of those kind of things. That kind of knowledge does not come in a heartbeat. It is something you seek after, and it's something you desire, and something you work at. So I will tell you, the best marriages that I know have a great deal of communication going on a regular basis. One of the other traits of this nurturing is this idea of turning towards each other. And I just want to kind of play with this a little bit. He says that in all relationships, people make bids for their partner's attention, affection, honor, and support. Either they turn towards them or they turn away from them. Dr. Gottman also calls these something called a sliding door moments, meaning you come up to a sliding door and you either walk past it or you open it and you go through it. Okay? There's the idea. So here is a bid. I text you when it means I miss you. So you send a text, hey there, how are you? That's a bid, right? Does anybody not recognize that as a bid for connection? What if you don't respond? They don't want a connection. They assume, and by the way, the time between when you send that text and they feel rejected is really quick these days. You almost have to go back and say, I am sorry, I was in the shower. You have to tell them why you didn't respond in 35 seconds, because we all walk around with our phone in our hand all the time. So if you text and they don't respond, you have turned away from instead of turned towards. In good relationships, they look at the bid and they turn towards more often than not. They try to turn toward when there is a bid for that. So give me a bid that you guys have seen from others in relationships that you have recognized. Anybody? Yes?
Like, how you make your cat available?
Uh-huh.
If the guy rejects it or takes your hand.
Oh, so if I could make my hand available, I'm making a bid. Ooh, I didn't think about that one. That's a good one. Okay. Bidding. Okay. All right. Good. Anybody else? Yes. A gift is a bid. Tell me how a gift is a bid. So what are you bidding for? If you give somebody a gift, what do you hope in return? A happy feeling, something coming back from them though, right? If you ever send somebody, a gift or a card and they don't respond, what do you think? They didn't appreciate it. They turned away from it instead of turned towards, right? Good, okay. In good relationships, yes, go ahead.
I was thinking about a smile.
A smile can be a bid, yes. A smile at someone. If you're looking at someone and you smile at them, what do you think they expect back? Something, right? A smile, a hey, you, a hug, it's something, right? They want something back. So we are constantly, as people, bidding all the time. We do this and we don't even think about it. But the people that respond to our bids are the people that we feel drawn to. I had an experience, it's been 6 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks. Anyway, somebody asked me how I was, and for the first time, I never generally say, I'm doing great. But in that moment, I wasn't doing great. In that moment, I was having a really hard, I'd had a terrible day. Really, I'd had a really bad day, like a -9 on a scale of 100. It was bad. And in that moment, I just said, you know what, I've been better, or something along that line. And in that moment, that person took me and held me for a moment and just gave me a hug. And it was the most tender, sweet moment for me, because in that moment of need, somebody answered a bid that I needed. Now, being a single adult, it's hard to find people to answer our bids sometimes when we need them. If you find someone who is answering your bids, there's somebody that you can connect with. that cares about you on some level. The same thing is if you want to have a good relationship with someone, you should be answering their bids. You can't just say, well, I don't feel like it. Your wife comes in, or your sweetheart comes in, or your date comes in and says, man, pizza sounds really great right now. And you say, yeah. And you go back to what you're doing. What was the bid for? I'd like you to get up off that couch and take it, let's go get pizza, or let's order a pizza, or let's go make a pizza or something, but darn it, I want pizza. And they didn't answer the bid, and now you're like, oh, and you walk away. Because they didn't answer your bid. So if you want to have a good relationship, has bidding going back and forth in it, answering both ways. It creates an emotional connection, a romance, and a passion. Isn't that interesting? That just answering people's bids, spoken and unspoken, can create that intimacy that you want in a relationship.
So if you go for the kiss, you don't want the cheek.
I don't think we're going to talk. Kissing is not a bid. We'll talk about it another time. Okay, so one of the things that's important in a good relationship is, not you and I are not talking about that later. We're not talking about it at all tonight. Okay, here we go. So, one of the things that's important in a good relationship is trust. Okay? I want you to think about in a trapeze. Has anybody ever been to the circus and watched those guys jump across a Yeah, are you amazed that those women jump? It's always the women jumping. Why is it the women jumping and the men catching? I know, because they're bigger and stronger. I know, I'm sorry. But I know. But I always think it's weird the women have to be the one to jump. The guy is like firmly in the trapeze, feet wrapped around safe. I know he's hanging upside down, but that's beside the point. The women have to be the one to do the jumping. Yes?
Well, from a dating perspective, it's actually flipped.
Meaning?
The guys typically get to do the asking.
That's true, they're doing the jumping.
They're doing the jumping.
Yes.
However, there's a statement made, I believe it was by President Lee, that said that the woman who marries you is taking a tremendous risk.
That's right. Either way, it's a risk. It's trust. There has to be, either way, yeah. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's not that one has to trust one more than another. It's that there needs to be a healthy amount of trust. I want you to think of the area between the trapeze artist as the area of trust. If we do not have trust in the people that we are with, we do not have good relationships. If we can't trust them to be where they're supposed to be, or help us with what we're needing, or answering our bids, or all those other things, if there's not trust, there's not a relationship. And so sometimes in the life of the single adult, it's hard to come up with trust because others have betrayed that and wrecked that for you. And so it's tough to come there. And so I wanted to kind of show you, oh, by the way, President Hinckley said this, there cannot be peace where there is not trust. There cannot be freedom where there is not loyalty. Okay? So there needs to be trust in a relationship. Thank you, bless you for pushing the button. Okay. So here's some of the ways that we can build trust, because I think it's important for us to know, how do we see if there is trust with somebody? One of the things is, are they aware of your needs? Okay, that bidding, are they looking into your life and seeing, are they answering your bidding basically? Are they turning toward you in those moments? They have to be looking and being aware, and then they have to be turning towards you in that need, or are they turning away and being unavailable? And the last one, they have to have a certain amount of understanding and empathy for what it is that you are experiencing right now. Question or comment? Yes?
What about being completely truthful, never lying?
In the trust, yes, that's part, but see, wouldn't that be part of awareness of your need to have the truth and to be, yes. So it kind of, I'm lumping a lot of stuff together there, but if your need is to have honesty, then they would be aware of that, and they would be answering that with honesty. Okay, does that make sense? If I have a need for someone to talk with me every day for an hour after work, even if I don't want to do it, I would still make myself available to them, because I empathize and understand they need to deconstruct the day or whatever. So it's a being aware of the need, then answering the need, and then having understanding about the needs in our own lives that help us. Yes?
Can you explain how people that keep breaking that trust keep expecting you to just forget, and trust them again?
Well, the trust is something that you give, not something that you expected, and if it isn't given, then you're the one who has the problem that you keep expecting the trust. Does that make sense? It's your boundary about trust that's being violated. You have to, if you're not expecting trust, then you won't get trust.
Well, I'm saying that somebody keeps breaking the trust, like.
They're not trustworthy.
And then, like, they're trying to convince you that they're trustworthy and they pretend it.
Well, did I just solve you for you? They're not trustworthy? Can we just say, okay, check and...
Yeah, because they expect you.
Yeah, don't, if people are betraying your trust, why would you hang around?
Right.
They're not going to all of a sudden become trustworthy. That makes sense? Yeah. We often want to think, well, and we will give them a gimme here and there, thinking, okay, that was, okay, but a consistent pattern of not trustworthy is a consistent pattern of not trustworthy, and move along. Okay? All right. So, then repeat many times. Repeat this pattern. When you see this happening over and over in a relationship, you have a good, healthy relationship. When that happens, is somebody meeting these needs on a consistent basis, then you are thinking, there is something here because you're getting that back to you that is helping you, okay? And in the same vein, if you're not giving that to anybody, why would you think you could get it? So you have to be willing to be reaching into somebody's life. You have to be willing to answer those bids. You have to be understanding and empathetic about what those needs are. Repeat. It's a two-way street. One person doing it does not make a good relationship. It's got to be a two-way street, both of you doing that, okay? All right. One of the other things Dr. got, boy, this could be a 3-hour thing. We're going to try to get there, okay? At some point, if you have to leave, just go. No, I'm teasing. Okay. One of the things Dr. Gottman talks about in that trust relationship, that nurturing relationship, is this idea of emotional bank accounts. That reaching out into their lives and trying to find ways to fill their bank account is an emotional bank account is one way to think about it. In the family proclamation, it says that husbands and wives have I'm sorry, I have my glasses on. Sacred? Solemn, thank you. Solemn responsibility to care for one another, meaning two-way street. We have an obligation not to just take care of ourselves, but take care of the other significant person in our lives. So if you're the one always reaching and taking care of, and the other one is not reaching back and taking care of, we have a problem, right? It's supposed to be a two-way street. Both of you are equally taking care of one another in that emotional bank account, kind of an ideal. Now, one of the things that I see the most in my practice is that there becomes a pattern of negativity. Let me kind of just explain that to you. There's a principle called the 5-to-1 principle that has been studied to death, and everybody says it's true, is that whenever someone says something negative to you about you, I hate your shoes, for instance. I hate mine right now. They're killing my feet. I'm going to take them off. Okay. And I'm about to become very short. Okay. Oh, I know. Isn't it amazing? This is me. This is me now. So if somebody says to you, for instance, I hate your shoes, and you just it takes a little emotional hit, right? You think, oh, well, I kind of thought they were cute, or I thought, well, they're comfortable, or I don't care, whatever you think you say. You take a little emotional hit, whatever it is. Sometimes they're little hits like shoes, sometimes they're big hits like they say something like, you're just selfish. Okay? Anytime anybody has an emotional hit like that, it takes 5 positives to make them come back to equilibrium. So 5-to-1. So in a relationship, if there's an awful lot of negative slinging at you, they're always pointing out. Now, by the way, criticism, if they're always constantly correcting you, you can correct, but if you overcorrect it, then it becomes criticism, which is negative. Okay? So someone who is constantly saying, well, you ought to do this, and you ought to do this, and you ought to do this, and you ought to do this, we have a negative pattern, and every time it takes you, it goes kum, 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 and you need this 5 to build up. The problem with a lot of negative relationships is that they don't build you up, they just keep taking from you. So, vice versa, if you want to have a good relationship, I'm going to take this down just a minute. That's better, thank you. I felt like I was standing with tippy toes. Okay. By vice versa, if you want to have a good relationship with someone, you should be looking to build them up on a regular basis, because guess what? The world will kick them to the ground every day. Every day you go out into the world and people constantly take you down. We live in a very negative society. So if you find someone who is building you up and making you feel good about yourself, oh my goodness, hang on to that person. But you should be doing that same thing, looking to say the positive thing to them on a regular basis. Those are the relationships that keep thriving and living, is when we're looking for the best in them. I love this idea of just asking I was just wondering, how was your day? That's a bid to say, share your life with me. Let me find what's going on with you, and then let me positively give back. Wow, that was really hard. You did that really well. Or, man, that was really a great solution that you came up with. Or, I don't know how you kept your cool. You're amazing. That bid of asking, how was your day, gives you the opportunity to do that 5 positives, because I'm telling you, they've already had more than one negative that day. Yes, Jen?
The thing I love about that is that it's an open-ended question, so it's inviting a lot of conversation. It's not, so did you have a good day? Yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's open-ended.
Tell me about your day. How was your day?
I have to do that with my kids.
Oh, yeah.
It's not
Especially the male children in your family, right? Yes. They don't. If you give them a one-word answer, they will give it to you the one word, right?
Right.
So the idea here is that we want someone to fill our emotional bank account that is looking out for us and building up for us, but we also are willing to give that out also. It's not a two-way, it's not a one-way street. One of the things Dr. Gottman says in a good relationship, there's lots of laughter and there's lots of humor. Why is that important? Yes?
It's the best medicine.
It's the best medicine. Do we live in a hard world? Yeah. Does anybody come home just joyful every day? You do. Just Tess does. Tess works at like Disneyland every day. You need to call Tess. She's going to be your gal. Okay. We're going to put her number on speed dial. Okay. So laughter is good, and there's lots of tense moments in marriage, and sometimes you just have to laugh about it. I will never forget coming into my kitchen, and my son had taken down, I don't know where he got it, like a 10-pound bag of flour. Do I have to explain the rest of the room? No. And I was just ready. I swear he was going to be dead any minute. And my husband walked in and he said, "Are we having pancakes?" And I still laugh. At that moment, I thought, okay, I'm not going to kill him. We're just going to leave it up. It's okay. But it just kind of diffuses. Laughter has a tendency to diffuse in life. And it's a wonderful thing to find someone who can do that with you. Not at you, but with you. Yes?
What kind of don't do that when you're having a serious discussion that's really personal and means a lot to the person? Don't make each other.
Well, you'll find out real quick if you are stupid. You'll find out if you do that wrong. Because they'll say, this is not a laughing moment. You'll say, okay, that was not the time. So Dr. Gottman says, as couples that laugh together, last together, but I love this one at the bottom. It says, people fall in love by smiling at each other, but they stay in love by laughing with each other. So I love that. So if there's someone that makes you laugh and someone that can sometimes ease those lives, that's a good relationship builder, and one that is good in the toughest parts of marriage, like when you want to kill your son. Now, we're only to number 2 and I have 15 minutes. Do you really have 15 minutes?
No.
Okay, you people, oh, no, you're going to stay till I get through all 20. I have 900 slides. Are you staying? I know, none of you are working tomorrow. We're staying. Okay, I'm teasing. Okay. The next one, I spent a lot of time on that one because it is the foundational one. If you don't have that nurturing relationship, you don't have anything to build on. That's why we spent so much time. These others are a little quicker. And I promise I'm getting to the survey, but I'm holding it hostage, so none of you leave. Okay, here we go. Second one he says is a positive perspective. Somebody want to call that the Pollyanna syndrome. Somebody who can look at life and says that even in the tough things, they can find things that are positive about them is a gem in a relationship, because there's going to be lots of times life is hard, right? A positive perspective is not just about life, but also about the person that you're with. If you, in marriage, when we normally get married and go into a relationship, we often think really good things about our sweetheart, right? We think they're Superman, and we think that she's just the most amazing thing ever. And then we find out that they leave their socks on the floor every day. And we find out that she eats Cheetos in bed. And we find out all these things, and then we think, okay, Superman wouldn't leave the socks on the floor. They'd fly into the hamper or something, I don't know. And you know, she shouldn't eat Cheetos because then it's gross on the sheets. And we kind of have a tendency to kind of start to the reality check falls in. This is another reason why you don't get married in 3 months. Have I said that enough yet? You don't get married in 3 months because you haven't had enough time to see how they handle what life is really like with them. you haven't had enough time together. And only time can kind of show you what people are really like. We had a couple in our state. Well, she was a single lady, and she had 2 kids, and they were teenage boys. And he had never married. He was in his early 30s, and she was a little older. She was like 36 or something. And I will never forget that they had been dating for quite a while. Then all of a sudden, one of her sons got really, really sick. She had several sons that had some heart defects and other things, and he was really not well. And all of a sudden, she's in total crisis mode here and at the hospital and worried sick about her kids. She told me that the thing that she made her fall the most in love with this man is that in that moment of crisis, he never left her side. He was there for her, supporting her 100% of the time. And she said, in that moment, I knew I was going to stay with this guy forever. If he'd had me, I was going to track him down. And he was going anywhere. He loved her already by then. But it was in that moment, and she said the thing that he did the most was he brought in and he kept saying, it's going to be okay. She said, when I couldn't muster that, he could. And that helped me to get through that difficult time, to know his positiveness and his willingness to say, it's okay, we're going to make it, or he's going to be fine, buoyed her up in that moment. That positive perspective of life and also of each other, expecting the best, not the worst of each other, is a real good relationship builder, and one that's built on good foundation. So, this one at the bottom is so true. A negative mind will never give you a positive life. So if you yourself find yourself as Debbie Downer or Donnie Doubter, I challenge you to take a new perspective. There is nothing quite so wonderful as someone who thinks the world is a good place, and not someone who thinks that they're preparing to die every minute, okay? So I challenge you to reach out of yourself and push yourself into the positive mode. If you think a negative, the 5 to 1. If you think a negative, then you balance it with 5 positives. You do it on yourself. If you think this is terrible, then you have to say, oh no, there are 5 good things about this, whatever it is. I will tell you how I learned this. There was a lady in California. You know how California sets itself on fire on a regular basis? Yeah, and they kind of always have that camera zooming into somebody in California, and they find that, is that your house that's burned to the ground? Yes, it's my house, it's going to tube, and all my stuff is good. And they always find that, and they interview these sad, sobbing people. Oh, everything's fine. There was this one woman, and I'll never forget her. They wish they'd given me her name, because I would have just liked in a plaque. But they said, is this your house? We see smoldering rubble in the background coming up. Nothing's there, except smoke and ash. And she said, yep. What are you going to do? She looked right at the camera. She said, I didn't want to clean out my closets anyway. Someone should marry that woman right there. I love that about her, because her positive perspective was, it's okay, kind of a deal. So if you can find someone that has a positive outlook on life, or if you yourself can become that person with a positive one, I'm going to tell you that's the basis for a great relationship, is somebody that can be positive and look at life as the glass is half full. I know how trite that sounds. Jen, was it you who wrote the glass isn't half full? It's always refillable? There you go. I loved that idea. I'm just going to steal it, okay? All right. Yes, there you go. Now, don't you love this? I found this meme by Elder Uchtdorf. Okay, this is my technical assistant here. He's making me world famous. Okay, I love this meme by Elder Uchtdorf. It says that the difference between cool and exceedingly awesome, brothers and sisters, is the matter of a few degrees. Do you remember? Now I love that, because I think Elder Uchtdorf is the exceedingly awesome, and that guy on the right is just the cool. But do you remember his talk that he gave about just a tiny bit of degree at the beginning would end up hundreds of miles different, okay? It's this perspective that we have about each other that makes all the difference. At the beginning, if we can really think that what we're married to is wonderful and fabulous, and keep that going, that can make all the difference. And unless you deviate off into, well, they've got faults and I'm listing them and I'm making a list and I'm keeping track of it, that will end you up someplace so far over here instead of where you want to be in the relationship. And that's why that perspective is so important as you look at that. So if you're doing this, do I have a good perspective? Am I somebody that's looking to the future and thinking it's positive and great, or am I someone who is stuck in the woe is me? That would be something maybe to consider. in your own relation, in your own self to look for and to be. The third one is, who said you have to learn how to argue? Here we go. There we go. We're going to talk about it for just a minute. This is a whole workshop on how to do this, but I'm going to give you a snippet of it. One of the most important things Dr. Gottman said is that good relationships have that you can manage conflict. Does anybody in here think that you're going to ever have a relationship that doesn't have conflict? No. Why is that?
We live in the real world.
We live in the world. That's right. Yes? What else?
Because no one is identical.
No one's identical. Yes, we're all individual. That's right. Even if we just put everybody in the room and just divided you men and women, that would be enough reason there's going to be conflict. Because we don't look at life the same. And I can't tell you all the ways you look different because that's a long amount of information. But let me tell you, men look at life differently than women look at life. And we process thinking and patterns and communications very differently. And because of that, it's important for us to know how to manage conflict. Somebody said you should never get married or start a relationship with somebody until you had a big fight. Now, I'm not suggesting you start a fight, but I am suggesting that that's a good way to find out how do they fight. Because there's a lot of real unhealthy ways that we fight. Let me kind of share with you the norm. They call it the communication tango. I wish Nick was here. I'd make him come tango with me. But here we go. I don't tango really, but here we go. So in a tango, what happens? Does everybody do the same thing in a tango? You got a male and female. Are they doing exactly the same steps? No. What's happening? One's going forward and one's going backwards at the same time. And if they do it right, they move around together, right? If they do it wrong, what happens? They collide or step on each other's feet, which is not a pleasant experience, right? Okay. So I want you to think of this as one moves and another moves and one moves and another moves. That's the communication. So for instance, you do something. You walk in and you say, you didn't take out the trash. Okay? And whoever you look at, whoever this could be a teenager, it could be a sweetheart, it could be whoever it is. You did not take out the trash. That immediately does something. It triggers something in the other person, right?
Defense.
Could be defensiveness, but they automatically start to feel something. Maybe they feel attacked, or maybe they feel picked on, or maybe they feel, something. But they start to feel something about whatever it is that you just said. There's always a give and a take. We don't just sit in like deathly nothingness. This is going on all the time. Then that partner has a need now to do something. In this case, maybe to justify, maybe to explain, maybe to defend, whatever it is. So maybe they say something like, well, it wasn't full this morning. Okay? They say something, that's what they do, and then guess what happens on the other side? That causes a reaction in you, the first person to speak. You then have a feeling, then you have a need that you need to express or something that you're afraid of that kind of starts happening, and then you do what you do. And this kind of goes back and forth all the time in everything that happens in our life. Sometimes it resolves easily, sometimes it goes on for a long time. But one of the destructive patterns looks like this, is that you start over here and you make your statement, and maybe you go around the circle can you guys see this? You go around the circle a couple of times, and then this person over here, you do this, and they do what? Shut down. How do they shut down? Walk away, stop talking, sit there in stony silence. It's called stonewalling. One of the biggest reasons relationships do not work is that somebody stonewalls in a relationship. Why do they stonewall? I know some of you do it. Why do you stonewall? Why?
Because they don't feel they're being heard.
They don't feel they're being heard. Why else do they stonewall? Yes?
Immediately on the attack. It's not that the trash didn't get taken out. You never remember to take out the trash.
Oh, okay. So we're getting more and more destructive in the communication. Okay, but why does the person shut down? Yes? To protect their emotions is one. Yes?
They get hurt.
They get hurt.
Prideful.
It's easier to just retreat and not deal with it. Okay, what happens though if they do shut down? Is there resolution to the problem? No. No. So if you find yourself in a pattern of somebody who constantly is shutting down now, I will be fair and say sometimes both parties shut down and we just retreat. Does that solve the problem? No. As long as one of you shut down, it doesn't do that. Yes, Cass?
If you're in a heated argument, you need to just step away from it, calm down,
Yep.
let your emotions down, and then come back at a later time. So
Yep.
you don't always consider stonewalling?
No, that's not stonewalling if you make an appointment to come back.
A safe word or something that says, you know what, I need to take a few minutes, or just throw.
Yeah, that's a whole workshop on what you do. I can't fix all that right now. I can fix that, but we're not doing it tonight. So there are ways to be able to manage this. The thing that you need to recognize is, what is this person, what do they do when there is conflict? And is it something that's healthy or unhealthy? Some people have more advanced training in this and know what to do. Others just retreat and go. I had a couple in my office last week. They had not spoken to each other in 6 days. 6 days, stony silence on the couch. She's on the couch. And she said, and he could stay there. And he's like, okay, this is fun. Okay, let's do this. So you need to I'm not going to fix the communication. If you need help, get help. If you know that you are a stonewaller, you need training. Okay, get some help. Go talk to somebody who knows how to do this, or kind of get together at a table and say, what do you do? Instead of stonewall, get some help. There's lots of good ways to do this, and there's lots of people that can teach you how, but you need to know if you're a stonewaller, you need to fix that. Okay? If you are, the other problem is that when somebody stonewalls, guess what the other person always does?
Overcompensate.
How?
Attack.
Attack. They attack. They're saying, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave, don't leave. And they get louder and louder and more aggressive, trying to pull that person back in. And what they're doing is running for the hills right now, because they are really being attacked. Like you said, it escalates into now name calling and those kind of things. They're attacking to say, please stay and solve. And the other person's saying, oh no, this is too ugly, I'm gone. So you need to know how they communicate, and you need to know how they manage conflict. And you need to have some of those experiences as you are having a relationship, so that you know where you stand with that and how that works. Now, yes.
What I want to say about that,
This one?
is that the person's stonewalling.
Uh-huh.
What I've learned myself in dealing with children, other relationships, people work and stuff like that, is that it's not always their fault. It's this person here may need to tweak how they
Yes.
stand.
There's lots of, yes. It's not that one is wrong or the other is wrong. It's that it can be a pattern. That's why you need to know it ahead of
When I
time.
keep getting that response, I'm like, maybe I need to change something in the way I
Yes. Yes, if you find your partner's always stonewalling, you may be attacking in an unhealthy way and not presenting it. But that's another workshop. Okay, so we're not going there. Okay, some of the ways that you can help to manage conflict is, first of all, be willing to accept from your partner information. Some people are like, no, this is the way it is and nothing is moving. And if you have somebody like that, it's my way or the highway, there is no debate about it. You can know that that's going to be a problem in future relationships. You need to be open to the ideas of compromise and thinking about things, and from their perspective, or at least listening to them, okay? Discussing the problems and taking turns listening and responding. If they do that really well, that's a great indicator of a healthy relationship. Also, we need to be responsible for self-soothing ourselves. So if you yourself find yourself getting really, really angry and unable to control what's going on, you're the problem. You need to look at that yourself, and you need to learn how to self-soothe in those situations and what you can do. Again, if you need help, there are people that can help you. One of the things that Dr. Gottman talks about in this conflict is that if there is some shared decision-making, that you kind of give and take in the decision-making process, that is a real healthy relationship also. He said the happiest, most stable relationships are those in which there's mutual respect, power sharing, and shared decision-making. When the couple digresses, they actively search for common ground rather than insisting on getting their own way. Let's not forget, it's you and me versus the problem, not you versus me. And too many times in that we're dealing with a problem, but we become adversarial instead of saying, wait a minute, we both have this problem, let's work it together, kind of a feel. So a little bit of conflict, not a lot. Okay, number 4, honoring life dreams. In a really healthy relationship, there is a great deal of reaching into their lives and trying to find out what their dreams really are and honoring those dreams. So for instance, if you are in a relationship with somebody and they reveal to you that their life dream is to climb Mount Everest, and you think to yourself, that is the stupidest thing I have ever heard in my life. I would never support that. Do not continue in that relationship with that person, because you will only have 2 options: to fight about their dream or to squish their dream. Does either one of those sound like a good idea? No. So you need to know what it is that's underneath them. And does everybody in here have a dream of something you'd like? Tell me a dream. Somebody tell me a dream. Is anybody brave? Tell me your dream.
I'm gonna go to Scotland.
She wants to go to
My
Scotland
ancestors.
and see your ancestors. That's an awesome dream, okay? Yeah.
I like to go on a mission.
She-
My future spouse.
She'd like to go on a mission. So if you have some guy that you're kind of getting dating and he says, I would rather die than go on a mission, you think, oh, you're not the guy for me, because that's really important to me. I really want to do that, right? Okay. Your dreams are important to you, and if in a good, healthy relationship, they are recognizing that, and they're also encouraging you, and they're letting you know what they're accepting the support, and they're looking for ways to support them and make their dream come true. I love that. It's a little bit like you look into their life and you say, how can I give them the one thing they want most of all right now? How can I do that? And if you find someone who's willing to do that, that's a great relationship. But also vice versa, are you willing to reach into their life and do that same thing for them? I remember my husband had a great dream of building this, I don't know what to call it, not a compound because it was in the mountains, but big huge house, little cabins all around, big amphitheater, all these things. He wanted to bring youth, zip lines and climbing walls and all kinds of stuff. He wanted to do an outdoor youth leadership training something, and he wanted to do that in the summers. And I cannot tell you the numbers of times that we talked about that. I can't tell you the numbers of times we designed and redesigned the compound as he sat. And this was not my dream, but it was his. But it was a constant source. We probably talked about it every month. And in the last several years of his life, probably every week. He loved and he wanted that so badly. And I thought, how can we make this happen? And I was working to try to figure that out. And we were working together to make that dream come true. I didn't care about it, but he certainly did. When I wanted to go back to school, which had been a lifelong dream of mine, it was going to be a great deal inconvenient to him, I'm going to be honest with you, because he had had the luxury of having a stay-at-home wife and mother for 30 years of his life, and that's quite a luxury you're in, by the way. Those of us doing all your laundry and your cooking, your cleaning, and watching out for kids and all those things, and now I was going to just basically disappear off the face of the earth. And he happily said, you go for it. And he told me not only that, you can do this. And I thought, no, I can't. My brain has atrophied 32 years. I know I can't. He said, oh my gosh, you can do that. You can keep track of 5 kids at the park. You got this. And I did. And I went back to school, and I was so grateful for him looking at my dream and not saying, well, we can't afford it, or it's going to be hard, or it's going to be inconvenient for me, or I'm going to have to pick a lot of slack. No, he just jumped right in and did it. If you can find someone that will support your dreams, that's a good relationship. Okay? Now, I love this idea. Healthy relationships, partners incorporate each other's goals into the concept of what the relationship is about. But it's not necessary to have the same dream. Can I say that? You don't have to have the same dream to have a great relationship. But what is important is that you support each other in the dream. Let me tell you a story about my son, Jeff. My son, Jeff, he loved playing the tuba in high school. He actually plays every brass instrument. If you blow into it, Jeff pretty well plays it. And he got offered a full ride scholarship to Southern University are we done? I went on too long. Okay. He went on to Southern Utah University, a full ride scholarship in music. Then he went off to Germany and came back, and of course, as every returned missionary does, now he's going to minor in German. He got all the way to his graduation. He's ready to do his student teaching just about, and he gets up to the high school there and discovers, I hate teaching high school kids band. And this poor Leslie's looking at his wife like, oh no, what do we do? I mean, we're talking a major shift in what he wants to do, and it was like, oh my goodness. Now, at that moment, that's not the important part of the story, because he goes on, he does lots of things, but he becomes like this cool computer guy. He's up in Frisco now doing his own thing. So that all worked out. But what was interesting is that Jeff still loves playing his horn. Absolutely loves it. He yearns to play his horn. It is just, there's something about that he loves, but we never bought him one. We couldn't afford them. They're like $2,000 to buy. He wanted a euphonium. And he just would say to his wife, man, I just love that. I wish I could play. I don't know how to even play. Unbeknownst to him, she began to scrimp and save and save and save and save and save. And then, last Christmas, she walked in and she said, sweetheart, she didn't buy him this one because she knew he'd be too picky, but she walked in with a big check, handed it to him and said, buy your euphonium. And here is the Frisco band community band schedule every Thursday night. You just need to go. And he, I will tell you, I think that man would eat glass for this woman. I'm not kidding you. Because he was so touched. You see that look on his face? That's Jeff smiling at his wife, who took that picture when he got his euphonium in the mail. It's a little bit like that 76 trombones moment, you know, kind of like that. But anyways, Debbie plays an instrument. She plays the clarinet, but she doesn't yearn to play the clarinet. And she doesn't really care about band. And she doesn't mind going to the band concerts, but she loves her husband. And she's going to be there for him because it's important to him. So that's the idea of looking at the goals and the dreams. President Hinckley said this. He said, be worthy of the mate you choose, respect him or her, give her encouragement to him or her, and love your companion with all your heart. That's part of what this is. Last one is create shared meaning. Creating shared meaning means is that you have something. You talked about how we needed to have something. Who was it? Something in common. Wherever she is, it should go. We need to have something in common that we share. Now, in the gospel, we often think that's just the church. Right? Like, oh, we're both members of the church, that is enough. I will tell you it's not enough, because we all, if I took a survey, and I will tell you we just did take a survey, of what's important to all of you in the gospel, I will tell you that not any of you had the same exact list. And some of you had things on the list and some of you didn't. And it was really interesting to me to read your responses. I'm the only one who read them individually, by the way. And so, but don't worry, I'm not divulging anything. So we, even within the church, the shared meaning is how do we live the gospel? Okay? Does that make sense? Because we have people that feel like you do, that I want to serve a mission, and there's others that think I would rather die. I had a sister in my office 2 years ago. She was 72 years old. And for many, many years, her husband had talked about going on a church mission. But he didn't want to go on just any mission. He didn't want to go to like Nauvoo and do that, or go to a visitor center, or go be a mission, Karzar. He wanted to go to Africa and sleep on the ground and, live in a hut. And she's thinking, I know, you ladies going, really? And he talked about it over and over and over and over again. She came to me because she was so distraught that she just could not even consider that idea, and she didn't know how to tell him. So she should have talked about it 40 years earlier, like, honey, no, I'm not sleeping on a floor. My husband used to say, if I could move you to the mountains and be a hermit, I would. I said, I'm not going. He goes, and I'm not going further than 50 miles from a Costco either, so forget, Tooele, I'm not living there. So, we have to kind of speak up, but that idea of that creative shared meaning. Now, there's lots of ways to do that. The church is not the only way. It can be the gospel, but it could also be fitness. It could also be community service. It could be your idea that you like to travel, a family, or hobbies, anything. But you need to share something that brings you together in that common goal. A relationship. Now, this is interesting. When there is shared relationship or shared meaning in a relationship, that when there is conflict, it's less intense. Isn't that interesting? I thought that was a great one. That's one of his studies, is there's less conflict when there's that. But there's also problems are unlikely to get into gridlock. And I don't know why, but that he just said it's just one of those oddities that shared meeting couples don't have that problem, which is great. My little nephew, this is Chase. He got married 2 years ago to Jessica. Chase loves baseball, loves. He's been playing, I think his dad had him sucking on a baseball when he was little, but they left every Saturday at the baseball, and the kid pitched, and he was pretty good. They thought he'd go off to college and he would pitch and maybe even go, and he was that good. But he loved baseball. Jessica loves softball. All the way through high school, played in the leagues, the select leagues and everything. Well, somehow, these two star-crossed lovers met. And they bonded over baseball, and they love baseball, and they watch baseball, and they talk about baseball, and they think about baseball, and they plan to go to baseball games, and they love baseball. That's just it, okay? So their shared meaning is baseball, and they have a goal. They're going to go to every single major league stadium in the United States and see a game. I think that's awesome. They checked off 3. So that's their plan. But they have that shared meaning, and it pulls them together in a commonality that's important to both of them, okay? Now, I'm going to share with you the survey, and I'm going to tell you how this all ties together and why I had to do the survey. Know that this is not terribly scientific, I've taken some research classes, but I didn't do all that stuff. So either did you, so it's good. Okay. Let's just start with what it looked like. We had 66% take it female, 34% take it male. So 2 to 1, basically, guys, if you look at that. The age range, you can see the age range there, which ages were pretty good, which kind of is typical of the more techie, younger generation took it better. I don't know. A lot of people looked at it, by the way, didn't take it. If you're in that group, why? You'll have to tell me later. Okay. And then the last one that we asked is, in the dating realm and the relationship realm, what are you looking for? And by and large, the largest group is they're looking for someone that's basically their age, a couple years older or younger. And I didn't define how many years, that's just their own definition. So that was the biggest group of what people are looking for. Now, I know that you probably, here's the survey, the top 10. Now, as I put this up, this isn't your answers, by the way. Here are all of the answers, and you're welcome to pick up a copy after you go if you want to see where your stuff, how many people liked what you liked or whatever is here. But I just want to share with you the top 10. Okay? I'll let you look at those for just a minute. Can everybody read them? Do I need to read it to you? You can't see it. Okay. Number 1 is, you need glasses or you just need me to read it to you? Okay, here we go. Number 1 is temple recommend attendee or covenant keeper, 64% of you, which is not all that odd because this is an LDS coming to a fireside Sunday evening group, right? You would think that that would be fairly high in the group. Priesthood holder, I took this out and just took the women because, the guys I don't think you want to marry are really priesthood holders, so I took you out. And that was 60%, okay? Financially responsible, 51%, and then the next 3 were all just tied, willing to take time to communicate, sense of humor and intelligence, and then the next 2 were tied, accepts me as I am and trustworthy, and then the last one was loves and can receive love. It's kind of an interesting list. It's not exactly what I anticipated, which was fun for me, but let me kind of tell you why I think this is important. I took those and then I put them into the categories that Dr. Gottman gave us. As you look at that, it's really interesting in that you guys really basically chose all the same ideas as what Dr. Gottman talked about. There were things that were shared meaning, there were things that were about honoring dreams, there were things about managing conflict, there was the positive perspective things. You really covered all of the same things, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. The vast majority anyway kind of came up with the same kind of list. I say that to you because I want you to know that instinctively you already know what it is you need. You already know. The only question is, are you willing to compromise those things, or do you really want to stick with what you actually feel and know about what's important to you? I gave you a little thing that said you could have written your top 10 things on there. If yours are different than these, then I suggest that you kind of do this little exercise to say, where do those kind of fall? And am I looking for someone who really is a nurturer? Am I looking for someone across the board? Am I looking for someone that has a lot of shared meaning with me? Kind of look at your list and you'll kind of get a feel about what it is that you're really looking for in a healthy relationship, okay? And that will help you to kind of maybe navigate more. If you find someone who's got a lot of nurturing qualities and that's important to you, then you're going to more likely gravitate towards a person like that. Okay, does that help you a little bit? Let me just give you a couple of quick flags that you might want to think about. Problems in relation. Anybody see the problem there? I hope so. Okay. A few problems that I see as a counselor. First one is this idea by Elder Scott. He said, as you seek an eternal companion, look for someone who is developing the essential attributes that bring happiness, a deep love of the Lord and His commandments, determination to live them, one that is kindly, understanding, forgiving of others, willing to give up self, with a desire to have a family crowned with beautiful children and commitment to teach them the principles of the truth at home. You do notice that he didn't say someone who has all these qualities, right? He said developing these qualities. And to me what that says is that, brothers and sisters, we need to be kind to one another. We are all in the process of becoming, all of us. And we are all striving to learn and to become. We're not looking for the perfect mate. We're looking for someone that can hit the things that are most important to us, and the rest we'll figure out as we go along. He also goes on in that same quote to say this, I suggest that you do not ignore many possible candidates who are still developing these attributes, seeking the one who is perfected in them. You will not likely find that perfect person, and if you did, there would certainly be no interest in you. I love that, Scott. Yes. these attributes are best polished together as husband and wife. From Elder Scott, not for me, but I would echo, yes, amen, brother. A couple of things that are important in relationships are boundaries, and there are 3 examples of boundaries there that are not really great. The first one is that rigid boundary where I want what I want, what I want, but there is no debating about it. That's going to be someone that's going to be very hard to deal with. There's also the people that don't have enough boundaries, that they let every whim of whatever kind of sway them, and you never know where they are, and you never know what to expect. And one day you're going to get volcano, and the next day you're going to get loving, and you don't know what happened. And it's because they don't have enough boundary. The best boundaries are the ones that are kind of set, but they have room to wiggle. For instance, I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. No, that's not true, but if that was their boundary. I go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, no matter what, I go to bed at 10. That is a rigid boundary. I don't care what's happening, I go to bed at 10. An unrigid boundary would be, well, I try to go to bed at 10, but sometimes I don't make it, and the really one would be, well, I don't know when I go to bed whenever I get around to it. The one that's a healthy one, which would be the one over here, the healthy boundary, this one, would be, I go to bed at 10, but sometimes if my sister comes and we spend all night talking, that's okay. Because, she only comes once in a while. Does that make sense? So somebody with good, healthy boundaries, that they know what they want, but also that they're willing to kind of bend or little with circumstances, good. As long as, we're not talking about, I'm willing to not drink unless my sister's in town, that might be a problem. Okay. Some of the most unhealthy boundaries are the ones that are considered abusive. And if you don't know what these are, then get online, type in unhealthy boundaries, and you'll get 1,000 charts that look just like this. But if you see any of these behaviors that are based on power and control and not about equity and respect, then that's not a good boundary. That's a not healthy situation. The other thing that I see a lot in the Mormons, I'm sorry, I'm mostly dealing with Mormons, is this knight in shining armor and Florence Nightingale syndrome. Anybody want to guess what that is? Knight in shining armor, somebody define.
Unrealistic expectations.
Of what? He's going to come in and save you. He's running in to rescue you from whatever your life is. And by the way, there's a lot of women that need rescuing because their lives are a mess. But guess what? Damsels in distress have a tendency to stay in distress even if the knight in shining armor come and rescue them. I'm just going to tell you. The Florence Nightingale is, guess, as a nurse, what do you think that one is? I'm going to save you. You're a mess, and if you you hear these kind of comments from them. If he or she really were loved, they would be happy. If she feels or he feels that they are safe, they will be happy. I can make them happy, or they can make me happy. Okay? When you start to feel those feelings, realize that you're falling into that trap because they're unrealistic expectations. You cannot make anyone else feel happy. They have to choose happiness. You cannot make anyone else feel loved. They have to feel love from what's going on around them, but you don't get to manufacture the love in them. Okay, does that help you a little? So be careful of that one. Oops, wrong one. And then I'm going to end with this challenge. In the 13th article of faith, it says this: we believe all things, we hope all things, we have endured many things, and hope to be able to endure all things. I think that probably speaks about the single adults the best. Many of you have endured many things and hope to be able to endure all things. But here's the caveat: if there is anything lovely, or virtuous, of good report, or praiseworthy, we seek after these things. Brothers and sisters, can I challenge you to be doers of the word and not hearers only? We did not have this workshop so that you can sit here and just hopefully just file away in your head something. If you do not walk out this door today and start practicing these things, if you don't take away something from this fireside, you might as well have taken a nap. So can I challenge you to be doers of the word and go out and try to either look at the relationships you're in or to try to become what you have identified for yourself. Do something different because you're here today. I want to end with this little clip and then one slide that shows you I want you to watch the interaction between these two people, looking for what you see in Dr. Gottman's ideas of what is a good relationship.
Nice day today, huh? Can I borrow your pen? Oh, your pen. Thanks. I appreciate it. All too easy to be helped and found. You slept and you said it isn't you to carry on. It isn't you to lay down fears that hold. It isn't you to find you. What are you listening to? Daylight's coming, the sun is blazing, new beginnings seep into you. But in the end, it's distant shadows that finally overwhelm your senses. And this time around, is it love that you crown? And this time around, you'll be more than who you are. It isn't you to carry on. It isn't you to lay down fears that hold. It isn't you to find your way home. Did you find yourself a way home? 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 It isn't you to carry on. It isn't you to lay down fears that hold. It isn't you to find your way. That's weird. I don't hear anything.
Nice. I was going to give you all sticky pads. So much in that is exactly right. The shared meaning, the positive regard, the sharing of a common idea. There's just so much good there. But let me just end with one. Whoops. President Kimball said this. He said, marriage can be more an exultant ecstasy than the human mind can conceive. It is within the reach of every couple, every person. Brothers and sisters, we are meant to be happy in this life, to find people that will love us and to love us in return. Can I challenge you to be brave? Can I challenge you to reach out of your comfort zone? Can I challenge you to look for those healthy relationships? And when you find them, they'll probably be in the most unlikely places. Will you be brave and cultivate them and see where they go? I loved, as I was writing this, I tried to figure out what it was that I was trying to convey to you. And this is kind of the couplet that I came up with. Hold my hand for a while we go and trust. Day after day, week after week, year after year. What I hope is someday you will hold my heart forever. Brothers and sisters, as we work at this, we can find people that we can love forever as we work at have good, healthy relationships, becoming healthy ourselves, and looking for those around us that we can cultivate those for. May I challenge you to go forward and do this. Can I tell you that I know the Lord will help you in this. If you are prayerful, if you seek Him, He will be found, and He will instruct and teach you what it is you need to do. Of this I am confident. I know the Lord loves you, and I'm glad you're here this evening. May you go forward loving and reaching out and growing is my prayer. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.